Oh, and one more video before I forget. I actually figured out what location Japan is actually based on. It's actually based on the Ibaraki province or Providence or whatever, however you say it. It's an area in Japan. It's actually to the east of Tokyo. If you don't know, Japan itself in real life is actually based on a lot of areas, but because Japan is like one of the oldest countries in the world, again, in the islands too, it's worth noting that they have like roughly like 8,000 something islands. I think that might be a little too high. Maybe it's like roughly like 6,000, 7,000. I think it is 8,000. It's just maybe just rounded up though, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Might even be more. Who knows? But from what I understand, though, there's a lot of history that's been there. There's a lot of people that have came and gone from the Ibaraki province. It's right in the Kanto region. That is where Lavender Town is actually found. And believe it or not, there are some haunted areas in there by the locals, they believe. And they also believe that that's where also the lavender fields come from. Hence, again, Lavender Town, because it's, it's a color in this case. Purple, color purple. Pretty cool, actually. If you don't know, lavender is a plant. Is it a sweet plant? I always forget. It's a flower. Beautiful aroma, very natural. And I've had a few of them grow in my yard, but the birds keep eating them because they must like them. So they don't stick around very long. But I'm gonna put it, but I swear I'm gonna get them birds one day. they're always out there. Anyways, but yeah, Lavender Town. I can definitely see where they got the idea for it at. They took an idea based on, because it's a city that's actually based on, like, it's literally like against the Pacific Ocean on the east side. And so it literally, like, if you were to go there, you could actually see it for yourself. Like, you could see the deep, vast blue, and then just the miles it stretches out just before the Earth starts. Before it gets even deeper and all that. It's actually really, really beautiful. I think that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, not to mention, all that lake effect water that, all that breeze and it just blows in those green valleys. So, you get like all this lake effect water and all that. So like those plants would definitely be very green by the time, if people in Japan were just taking care of them. It's amazing how nature could very well organize that too. But yeah, there's a lot of abandoned places in Japan. I can't say 100%, like, I can't document accurately like how many places because I'm not there right now. But man, I'd love to go there though. I'd like to just see, like, just to learn the culture, all the different places, all the abandoned places, and just kind of figure it out. Like, how is a country that it's been around for so long, and even the natives there, like, just like how well even they might know, like, a lot of the stuff that they grew up with, like the cultures, the history, the people, their ancestors, their families. It really does make you think, like, what the purpose of life is. And and even for a Pokemon game, that's what was really interesting, because like once Lavender Town was introduced in the Pokemon games and you found out that Pokemon was based on a lot of real life locations, a lot of people are still trying to figure that out. Like, what was it about? Like, why was Lavender Town in those games? Because it just kind of seemed out of place for a Pokemon game. They say, like, Pokemon, like, they don't die, they faint. And then, like, later on you get to a Pokemon town where it's literally haunted, it's dedicated towards, it's like a nod off to like haunted locations that are in certain areas of the world. And so it does make you think, like, because Japan is very spiritual, and I don't have anything against that. I think that's really actually cool that they try to look at life in all the ways they can. What happens when you die, and you try to think about that. Like, there's other planets, other galaxies. Is there an infinite number of universes and other? I'd like to think so. I definitely don't think we're alone as far as, like, this is the only life, and start thinking about, like, the afterlife and all this crazy stuff, and it just, like, really, really does make you think, like, everything we've been told is basically a lie, and except for the stuff that's true. And so Lavender Town kind of did that for me, because growing up, it's like, then you have the mystery of, like, who was Cubone's real mother, for example, and eventually we found out it was Kangaskhan and Marowak. Mostly Marowak, though. But it's just interesting to think like how two Pokemon could be two separated, and then they very well changed into something else. Like Cubone and Kangaskhan are very relatable, even though they're still, again, kangaroos and all that. And then there was the whole fiasco with trying to figure out with, what was it? Not Kangaskhan, but, you know, Marowak, you know, like all these, like they gather at cemeteries and all that, and they grave rob like everybody's for their own, because they're bone collectors and all that. And you just sitting there thinking like, you know, that is very interesting. And it's, but that's what they do. I'm surprised, I mean, the more I think about it, I'm surprised Marowak isn't a ghost type, you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, or at least a dark type. I mean, I think maybe that's why they gave the Alola version the ghost type ability. But it's like, or was it a dark type? No, it had to have been a ghost type. But it was interesting, though, because like Marowak's a ground type, and it's like, well, you're talking about a Pokemon that literally grave robs people, and its children are adorable. Little boxing kangaroo, baby Kangaskhan. Man, I don't know. It's amazing how they made that series. It's so cute and adorable. You have like, you know, like Cyndaquil was always one of my favorites. And too bad Cyndaquil, I don't have a Cyndaquil. I'd really like one. or maybe a little Cubone and a little Vulpix. And too bad they probably burned my house down because they're fire types. You know, damn fire types. They gotta be so aggressive. like it's interesting though. Like, so, but anyways, yeah. But yeah, it just goes to show you that Pokemon they're all based on like some kind of real life locations in real life, you know. Pokemon, Tokyo, like not just Tokyo, but was it Chica? No, not Chica. No, that's something else. I'm trying to think of that town. It's south of Ibaraki. It's Chisa. I'm forgetting how to spell it. That's the problem. I'm trying to think of what that fourth letter is. It's 5 letters long, and it's south of Ibaraki. That's where it literally looks like that's where Lavender Town's at. That's where Fuchsia City is based on, too. It's in that province. It's the next province down. It's CHI something A. I think it's Chisa. It's either an S or a K. That's the first thing I'm drawing. It's either that or it's very interesting actually. All the different cities, all the lingo, the slang, the art forms, the culture, and words I can't even think of right now because I'm drawing a blank. But it just, you know, I've always been amazed by Asian cultures. You know, they try to preserve their history, and it just really does make you think, you know, like you have I'll put it to you like this. Japan is a country that's been around since 30,000 BC. That, as far as I know, from what I've been told. Maybe it's a little bit younger than that. Maybe it's even older. I mean, as far as what I was able to find. But within that time period, you think about this for a second, or even since the beginning of time, since Earth was created. You really got to think that you know, there's a lot of stuff that can happen within 4.7 billion years, and you really got to think, like, you know, how many ancestors, the history. I mean, I want a time machine. I could go back in time. You could see all these areas that were all based on some kind of inspiration towards something else, and one thing leads to another with other ideas, and then eventually you start seeing like the areas they're based on. And I think the Ibaraki area was actually based on, it was like 7, what was it, like something huge, like square mileage. And I'm trying to think how many cities there even are in Japan, but and that's just Japan, you know. It's like how many islands, it's like, man, where do you start? You know, I tell you what, if I flew out to a destination, I tell you what, if you're looking for a translator, this is the best advice I can give you. For learning any language. If you decide to take any kind of trip to any kind of language or any kind of culture, do yourself a favor and research as much as you can. Learn as much as you can. Don't limit yourself. Because, you know, once you go to another country, it's a completely different ball game as far as, like, you know, the cultures, the rules, you know, like tourism. I mean, it's just the way the world is, you know. So, you know, really don't be put out of your comfort zone if you're somebody, like, because again, a lot of people want to go to Japan, but you know, where do you start, obviously? You know, there's a lot of stuff you're going to have to learn, you know. Thankfully, a lot of people in Japan can help out, too, because they're pretty nice people from what I've been told. You know, if you're trying to travel to certain locations, I mean, I'm sure there's probably some places that are off limits, obviously. But, you know, yeah, just learn the language, figure out the people, and figure out the culture. Always do, I mean, especially in this day and age, you research what you want to do and try to figure out where that's at, and then you're just going to go from there. You know, write some notes down and try to figure out, like, what's common and what's not, and what's expected and what's not, because that's always a good start. If you can expect things and you got it, then you're ahead of everything else, and that'll help out tremendously if you're someone who travels a lot or someone who wants to travel a lot, kind of like me, for example. If it's not the money that's slowing you down, maybe it's just trying to figure out the knowledge and the, you know, the lingo. Right. So that's always a good thing to know ahead of time. But yeah, that's really interesting to think, though, that Lavender Town is based on like one location in Japan, and then there's all these other locations too that I know, because like in Pokemon Fire Red, for example, you can kind of see, if you pull up the world map, you can kind of see it laid out for you, sort of. It's actually pretty clever. They went and they filled in all the details. You can kind of see what location it's based on. Because if you go on Google Images and type in the Kanto region, you will actually get like a realistic geology of what it looks like in real life. It's actually not just something in the video games. It's actually a real location based on something in Japan, which is pretty cool. As well as the Johto, the Sinnoh, and the Hoenn region of Japan, which is actually pretty cool. A lot of people didn't know that the first 4 regions of Japan are based on somewhere in Japan. That's pretty cool, actually. Because, you know, Game Freak was from Japan, so that's a nod off to their country. That's pretty cool. So, yeah. So, yeah, if you're not subscribed to this channel already, like I said, I'll do the best I can to keep talking about it, but yeah, that's basically it for now. Yeah, Lavender Town is based on an area, and it's kind of a nod off to like the lavender fields and a haunted some locations in the Ibaraki province of Japan, that little area. So that's pretty cool. Now, what place could inspire Lavender Town? That I'd have to think a little bit more about, but there are some haunted locations. There have been some haunted shrine locations. I'm thinking maybe that might sort of be a good start. But as far as I'm aware, there are a lot of abandoned places and a lot of gossip rises around it, especially with the locals. Maybe some of the locals will recommend people don't even go there because, you know, I mean, not just trespassing, but you know, just don't disturb something that you might be seeing some weird things. 'Cause I'll tell you what, I've seen some weird things, and that's not something you want to screw with. I could make videos about like ghost stories and stuff, but yeah, that's there's some. I mean, despite what some people might believe and what some people might say, I mean, that's not really something you want to mess with because you get bad vibes. But at the same time, though, I mean, not trying to be superstitious, but you don't want to mess with something that could open like another door to another dimension or something like that. Yeah, or something like that, something bizarre. And you know, because how do you explain it? You know, how do you prevent that versus how do you know what I mean, signify? How do you see something like that coming when you don't even know what it is? You know, how it works and where it's at. You know, it could be anywhere.